Hello AWS friends, in this short tutorial let's have a look on AWS Batch. This service is pretty cool to run jobs nightly, daily, long running jobs, and again you find all commands, the documentation in my GitHub account. You find this readme, and basically with this readme you'll be able to execute AWS Batch jobs. There's also a good tutorial here from the principal product manager of AWS Batch. You can read this in detail, and this is a very good description on how to run these AWS Batch jobs. So let's have a look in our README and let's get started. So the first thing you're gonna need is a IAM role to run your batch jobs. Let's switch to the IAM console. I already created this role, but if you have to create it, select create role, and you have to select Elastic Container Service here as an AWS service, and you have to select Elastic Container Service task for your use case. Then you should add some access to your S3 buckets, because we're gonna upload our script file there, and therefore you need at least S3 read access. So let's select read access, and then you can create your role here. As I told you, I have already created my role, and I can skip this part for now. The next, let's have a look, is to create a ECR repo. So you find ECR in the service ECS. You have your clusters for ECS, for example. You have your clusters for Kubernetes, EKS, and there's also the section repositories. And here in repositories, I already created my repo. I have already one image pushed there. So if you don't have one, just say create repo, and this step is also done for you. Next thing, we have to create a Docker image for our batch job. Therefore you should copy your ECR repo URL. You should copy this part, and then let's have a look in the Docker file. You can use this one from my GitHub account. So basically we're just using this Amazon Linux image, and then it's gonna copy this file, fetch and run, and we find this fetch and run script here also in my GitHub account. You can have a look at this, and the entry point for the Docker image is this fetch and run. What you have to do now is to execute the Docker build command, and here you have to use your ECR URL. I'm gonna build this Docker image now. Next thing, you have to log into AWS by Docker. And finally you have to push this Docker image to your repo. And now you can have a look in your repo, and this is your fetch and run image. The next step is to create your job script. So this job script is gonna do the work you want to execute. Let's have a look in my simple example. So this is just for tutorial. I'm gonna pass a parameter, string parameter, and echo this hello parameter 1, and also I'm constructing a date, and also echoing the date. Then I'm creating a test file, and to also demonstrate how to push a file to Amazon S3, I'm copying this, just create a test file to the same bucket where my script is. Let's have a look on this bucket. So this is my test script, and what you have to do to be able to execute this from AWS Batch, you need a S3 bucket, and you have to upload this file to your S3 bucket. Therefore we have added S3 read access to our service role for AWS Batch. Now we can finally create our jobs here in AWS Batch, but first we have to create a compute environment. Compute environment is a EC2 instance, a ECS optimized EC2 instance, which is going to be launched and run your script file. Start a Docker image and run your script file. So let's call it my environment. You have to select the service role we just have created. The instance role, you can select ECS instance role. This is already available in an AWS account, and you have to select a key pair. We can keep all the other parameters as default. You can select your VPC on where you want to run your batch, and you should have a existing security group to select, and you don't need a placement group by default. So let's create the compute environment, and this is in creation now. Next thing is a job queue. Now let's create a job queue. This is very simple. You have to enter priority, and you have to select your compute environment, and that's it. Now we finally can create our job definition. Let's say create and give it a name. You can enter the attempts you want to have. I'm going to keep this on default. Here again is your job role. And now important thing, you need the container image. We have just pushed to ECS. And here you have to enter your fetch and run image. So you can leave the command for free. We're gonna enter a value for this command text box later on in the job when we're gonna submit a job. If you always use the same commands, you can also define it here in the job definition. So for CPU, let's say 1 and memory 500. User is nobody as the default class. And now we come to the point environment variables. In this tutorial here, the environment variables are gonna be defined in the job itself. You can also do this, but I'm gonna define the variables in the job definition. This way I don't have to enter them again and again when I create or submit a job. And you need these two variables. The script is the batch file type, and this is important, this is the URL to your script file you want to execute. And this is the definition, and let's say create definition. This is the first batch. Now the last step is to create our job, and for this let's say submit job. First batch, give it a name, and you have to select the job definition. We have only one available yet. We have only one queue. This is the one we just have created. You can enter a job on which this one depends on. We don't need this for this first and very simple tutorial. On this command, I have mentioned this already. We're gonna type myjob.sh, and the string values. The first one is your script file. So the fetch and run script is gonna need this parameter to get your script file from the S3 bucket, and this is not mandatory, this is just a second parameter I'm gonna pass to echo this in my tutorial script. This is from the job definition. You can override it, of course. This is the CPU, the memory, and here, as I said, the environment variables are the same you have defined in the job definition, and if you already define them in the job definition, you don't have to enter them always here in when you say submit job. If you have variables which differ from job to job, of course you have to define them here in the job and not in the definition. And now let's finally submit our job, and this one should then be in the state runnable. So what's now gonna happen is this job needs a compute environment to run, and let's have a look in our compute environment. We have a new value here, and this is the desired virtual CPU. This is by now 2, it used to be 0, and this means a EC2 instance is gonna be launched to execute our batch command, and this is this for large instance, which is now initializing. Let's switch back, and once this EC2 instance is ready, our job is no longer in state runnable. It should be in state starting or running, or in this case it's already completed because it didn't run very long, and our first batch job succeeded successfully, as you can see here. If you click on this job here in the history, you get some job details, and the most interesting thing is the log files for this job, and these are available in CloudWatch. And as you can see, if you remember my script file, I was echoing the second parameter, the string, which was AWS France, and said hello, and I'm also echoing my date, which I have constructed. Then I was creating a test text and uploading this to the same S3 bucket where the batch took the script file from. Let's have a look in our S3 bucket. This is the script file we have uploaded, and this is the text file which was uploaded by the batch job. So the batch job was successfully. I hope you by now know how to run batch jobs on AWS. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next lesson.